All right. Okay, we are live. Hi, everyone. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. We are live. We are going to be waiting a little bit until it builds up. Hello, everyone. I see two people on. Remember that if you are going to make a comment, or you should, I'm encouraging you to comment and like and share. But if you do so in terms of your comments, and remember, StreamYard, I may not be able to see your names, so you can add your name to your comments as you drop a comment to let us know that you are right here with us. I would encourage that you do so we can know that you are here and who you are while you are commenting. And I hope that you guys had a wonderful Saturday. How has your day been going? Let me know in your comments. How is your day? And how was your day, Nas?
Good, good. No complaints.
No complaints. That's good. Are you hearing me clearly? Hearing me clearly? Okay, great, great. Okay, guys, so we're going to start our interview in 3 minutes. In the meantime, please share this video, and please leave a comment so we know that you are right here with us. We are in for a treat today. We are ready. I am ready. I don't know about you, but I encourage you to get ready because it's going to be amazing. Not just awesome in terms of content, but in terms of what I know, the move that will be taking place. I believe there is going to be a shift in the atmosphere today, and I believe in God for that. So I ask that you thank you, Deborah. Hi, Deborah. And hi, Jamar. Yeah, so I'm seeing the names, I'm seeing the comments. That's good. So hi, Savita. Hello, good day to you as well. Again, if you are coming in, when you do come in, please drop a comment. If you notice that we're using StreamYard, StreamYard might not show your names. So if it is that your name does not pop up, or if I can't see your name, then just leave your name beside your comment. All right, so we're going to begin in 1 minute. Again, I hope that your Saturday was wonderful. I had a great, just a relaxed, normal, chilled day. I was gearing up for today's interview, gearing up for it. All right, and we are beginning in 30 seconds. Ready, Natasha?
Oh, yes.
Yes. That's what I like about you. You're always ready. Always ready. Born ready. That's great. All right, guys, remember to just, when you get on, leave your comments, and please share this video because, well, I keep saying video. Please share this broadcast. Share the live because I know that lives will be impacted today, and we play a part by ensuring that as much people as possible hear what will be said today. So we're going to honor time. It's 7. Well, it's 7 where I am. It's 6 where you are. For our Jamaican audience. And so we're going to begin. So welcome, everybody. Welcome to another broadcast. But before I get to that, I am Shaniese, Laylor-Bogle, and I had an amazing story to share with you regarding introducing myself. So we're touching on trauma and the recovery from trauma. And I remember some years ago when I could not even say my own name. So that was how bad it was. I feared saying my own name. I was afraid to introduce myself. Why? It wasn't that I was shy. I don't think I've ever been shy, but I just could not connect worthiness to my name because of the situations that I was going through. And so when I heard about people saying, oh, Shaniese, Laylor-Bogle, author, this, that, it just never feel real. It was almost like a separated self from myself. And so today, thanks be to God, I can proudly say, hello, everybody. My name is Shaniese Laylor-Bogle, and I am a mental health advocate, among other things. But today we're focusing on the side of me and my heart's desire, which is trauma recovery and mental health advocacy. That's my heart's desire. That's my passion. That's really what I don't even have to get paid for it, and I will do it for the rest of my life. So that's who I am. And today's topic will be we're looking into trauma recovery, dealing with trauma, how trauma affects our lives. And the specific topic is, they left me for dead, but I survived and thrived instead. And normally we do these interviews in our private Facebook group, and that group is put together for people, specifically for people who are struggling with trauma-related incidents, PTSD, even complex PTSD. And so if we want to overcome trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder, we have created a group for you, specifically for you, where you can be on your journey of healing and recovery. So today we are going into the topic with Natasha Wright, Mrs. Mindful, as she's called a lot of times. And she is co-founder of Mindful International. And she is also the author of 2 life-changing books. And I always like to say this part where Natasha, what strikes me the most is that she's not just an author or co-founder of some company and mentor, you name it, she is it. But she is really somebody that you can emulate in terms of her faith. And I know she likes to be called a faith walker, herself and her husband. She is a woman of faith. And yes, she is the mother of one and the wife of one. And that husband is her business partner. You say, AKA partner in crime. So that's her husband, Jamal, right? But today we want to welcome Natasha. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Really good to have you on here today. And I know that God is going to use you greatly.
Awesome. It is indeed a pleasure to be here, Shaniese. So excited to share on the topic that you have given us.
Yes.
Me, mainly because you know my story. My story is that topic.
Right.
And well, that really struck me when you shared it. And of course, I would not have missed it. No, I want to take the opportunity to just congratulate you on the work that you've been doing.
Thank you.
Personally, and I've seen your growth and your development, and I've seen how passionate you are about mental health, and so much so that you have had events geared towards that. I know the last event you had in Jamaica, it was for men, mental health and the men, and so so proud of you. We have worked together on many different occasions, and I am happy to be able to support your group and anyone else out there who actually needs to hear from others about their struggles and them going through some things that has totally messed up their mental state, because there are many of us out there, but we don't know how to reach out for help. And so definitely excited about today's talk. And I'm not too sure if there's anything else you want to talk about before we jump right in.
Well, yes. First of all, I want you to give us, and thank you for that, Nas. I wasn't expecting that, but thank you for sharing that. My pleasure. It's really good working with you. And but the first thing I want you to do is to give us a little bit of background of what you do, because I know that whenever most times I hear you speak, you don't normally give the details or the full story. We normally get some juicy overviews and some nuggets. At our event last night, we were told that those are not nuggets; those are rock stones. So, um, give us an overview of what you do or what you and your husband do. Your partnership, the business ventures. What is it that you guys do?
Okay, sure, most definitely. So, our company, Mind Food International, is a 7-year, what we would call a leadership development institute, right?
Yes,
In essence, what we do is we serve our community, mainly the corporate arena. We go into different companies and we teach leadership development. It's
yeah,
supervised management. We coach executives. And I mean, you'd be surprised at the level that we are at in terms of coaching and consultations. And that's because there is a demand, a great need for people who are practical. And these are not any kind of information that's just being thrown out there. These are
yes,
actually biblical principles that we infiltrate into these different companies, and we teach that to them, but we do it in such a palatable way and such a tasteful way that they are able to digest it. What is our core focus? Our core focus is all about leadership, purpose, destiny, and understanding that we are all here to serve in a particular arena. So Jamar is and it's so funny that you call me Mrs. Mind Food all the time. I I remember a couple of years ago when Mind Food was just starting and people, were getting excited about that word, Mind Food. And one day I turned to Jamar and I said, "Oh, you're Mr. Mind Food. So every time I introduce you, I'm gonna say this is Mr. Mind Food himself." Now today I find myself being introduced as Mrs. Mind Food. So isn't that amazing? So Jamar is the CEO, also co-founder of Mind Food International. His focus is also leadership, but he has more of a marketing background. While myself, on the other hand, I am a leadership and HR consultant. So I tell
yes,
people all the time that we are a well-rounded team because we can look at things and we have different perspectives. And so while he
yes,
will understand how the structure should run, I'm all about the people. So
yes,
I'm able to tell him, okay, that person would fit there and all that kind of thing. Um, Definitely an amazing partnership. Divinely orchestrated. Today, Mind Food offers not just trainings worldwide, but we also do corporate trainings. We do leadership events
yes,
on a global scale. If it weren't for COVID, I know we'd be all over the place right now. But
yes,
Mind Food has actually been exposed and almost expanded to the point where Jamaica is no longer large enough to contain what is
yes,
happening. So we do mostly those things currently. That is our focus, but there's so many different things going on. And Shanice, you know this
yes,
because we are engaged in so many different arenas, and we encourage it because people need to hear about the kingdom of God, but hear it in a way that they've never heard it before.
awesome, awesome. I love that. I love that. Hear it in a way that they've never heard it before.
Yeah.
And this gives us so much hope because many times we believe that after the storms, as we normally call them, after the mental rage, then sometimes some of us say, oh, life could never have meaning beyond what we are going through. Or this moment, I almost let this moment define what the rest of the life can become. And so I glorify glorify God for you guys, for yourself, your Jamar, and even I'm coming up. I know that that's good ground for your child to be in, and so we bless the Lord for you. So now we're going to go into some heavier stuff
Yeah.
where the focus of the broadcast or the lives that I do on a weekly basis. Mark you, I was never a live person really. I love writing. I love content in terms of putting content out there. And so I would write a whole page and a half or two of information. I'm not really the lively type, but I find that in everything and in every season, there is a time when some things need to be done differently. And COVID has taught us that a lot for this year.
Oh,
So
yes.
the lives are now coming frequently. And the focus of it is, as I said, what I'm passionate about, and that's mental health awareness, namely trauma recovery and how trauma destroys or how trauma can destroy
Yeah.
a life. So, as I said before, you normally share the overview. I'm inviting you today to share in details. I know that you have gone through molestation, you've witnessed violence, you've witnessed and you've lived through the death of loved ones. Um, can you share with us your experience with these traumatic situations? You can mention them in correlation to each other, or you can take them one by one. That is fine. So the areas that I would love you to look at today is, or would love you to share, is molestation, your experience with that, violence, and the death of loved ones.
Wow, these are, Shanice, I thank you because this is actually like the first time that I have been asked to speak in depth about any of these.
Yeah,
So it is definitely something that I commend you for. And of course, I am open to speak because it is, and I'm going to mention it for everyone else who is going through this struggle, that speaking about it is actually a great way of overcoming, because it gives you the opportunity to release and you also
yeah,
release others as well. So let's look at molestation. I think and it started so early. And most victims can tell you that it's never strangers. It's always people around you, people that you love, people that you hold in high esteem that actually violate you in this way. I experienced molestation very early, probably like at the age of 8 years old. Mind you, I never told anyone. Again, we need to open our eyes as parents, as guardians, because these individuals usually groom you to not speak about these matters, and then you have to live with the guilt and shame. So, of course, I grew up thinking that, I should never tell anyone. Plus, I felt so guilty and horrible inside, I would not have allowed anyone to know either. I'm going to share with you a particular incident that I remembered recently. I went on vacation with Ami and Jamar, and I remember just being in the pool with Ami, and that just being in the pool with my 6-year-old brought back memories of being molested at the beach long time ago, like, and I did not even remember that. I was at the beach. I think we went with a relative. I was actually in the country, went with a relative. We were there just playing in the water, and I think that relative was actually watching football. And there was this young man, very friendly, chummy. I think I was probably like 12. And before I know it, he was doing something that was a complete violation. And I remember pushing the person away. But as much as that lasted for probably a couple seconds, I still remember it
yeah,
till today.
yes.
Remember it when I was in the pool with Ami, and because of that, it made me so paranoid because I kept looking to see if there was anybody around her while she was swimming. Uh,
Right.
that's one of one of those experiences that I had not even remembered until I hit the water and was in that kind of environment.
And to interject, Natasha, for some persons who might not understand the nature of trauma, there is an aspect of it called lost memories, where
Yes.
trauma literally changes the structure of your brain. So
Yes.
you will not be able, most people sometimes don't remember a particular or a specific chunk of information surrounding the event. And certain things will bring back the memory years later. So
Yes.
there will be some triggers years later. And the thing is, if you are recovered from it, when those memories come back, they won't be embodied experience where you're feeling the same pain. You'll just remember it as a normal memory. And that's how you know that you have been healed, right? You have recovered from it. And I can attest to that, Nas, because I remember when I could not remember like a year of my life. And when people, I have a friend, I don't want to call her name, but she would say, Bogle, no, you are XYZ years old. And I said, no, I'm, let's say, 29. And she said, no, Bogle, you're 30. I
Yeah.
couldn't remember how 1 year of my life just could not come back to my memory, because that was the year I was highly traumatized. Some things that I went through that year,
Yes.
that year was terrible. And because of that, the structuring of my brain changed.
Yeah.
The part of the brain that dealt with memories, I think it's called the hippocampus, where
Mhm.
that part of the brain was completely dark. There was no sparks, no activity going on. And for a whole year, I experienced lost memories.
Can I
So I
give
can definitely relate.
you another example of that very thing that you're speaking about? So this year, in the month of June, I have a family WhatsApp group, right?
Yeah.
And so, it was late, probably around about this time. My aunt sent a picture of my mother in the WhatsApp group and said, today would have been, like she's saying, today would have been 15 years since my sister died. Now,
Yeah.
remember, this is my mother.
Right.
Believe that I did not know, and it's not that I don't remember. I did not know the day my mother died because I decided that I was going to forget it.
Yes.
Even till this day, that day is the worst day of my life. I
Yes.
still hate Mother's Day, and I say it all the time. Don't rebuke me.
We understand.
Still hate Mother's Day. My close friends know that, okay, when Mother's Day come, please check on Nas because she is not gonna be doing so well. But I did not remember.
Yes.
It wasn't until she sent me that thing. And to tell you, Shanice, I did not believe either. I
Yeah.
didn't understand how I could forget a particular day for 15 years. And
Mm-hmm.
it took from me taking up my phone and going through the calendar, and I brought the calendar right back to 2004. Just
Yes.
because I wanted 2005 rather, just because I wanted validation that this was in fact the
True.
Saturn
Yeah.
was in mine. But I don't want to jump to the trauma of the death yet. I want to talk about
Right.
validation. No, I want to bring up some of the things that I noticed started happening to me because of that.
Right.
Because of the molestation, I was petrified of men.
Yeah.
I mean, like, this is like when I'm in my teens and, I should be comfortable around teenage boys. And I was
Yeah.
petrified. I did not feel comfortable if I had a little friend and he told me he liked me. I'm like 17, 18 now.
Yeah.
Feel
Yes.
like I would just completely disconnect. I don't want to talk to that person anymore.
Mhm.
Not up for that kind of discussion because I was so worried. I thought
Yeah.
that everybody that was going to come and violate me in that way. I was timid. I mean, broken, yes, but I was so timid. I didn't think I should speak. I didn't
Yeah.
think the. I didn't think I was really great because there was this almost like this cloud of darkness over my head everywhere I went.
Yes.
And guys, I did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong, but just to explain the trauma that was involved, that was all wrapped up in everything that I was going through, I thought that I had caused it on myself.
Yes.
I thought that I had done something wrong, or that, didn't even think I was loved by God either, because I thought that I had committed this great sin, although I was too young to even understand that I was being manipulated or taken advantage of.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, it's not reasonable to tell. What I've learned over the years, studying regarding the brain function, it's not easy, and some people or some clinicians or therapists, psychologists would even dare say it's not right to tell somebody, oh, don't feel that way. It's not your fault, yes, but oh, don't feel that way. How dare you feel that way? It's never okay, really, to tell them don't feel that way, because they can't not feel that way. That is how they are left to feel based
Exactly.
on the changes in the brain.
Exactly.
So,
One other thing that I've noticed as well as I was growing up, any area that I was violated, associated that place as a dark place.
yes,
I would never go back to that house. I would never want to go back to that beach.
so
I would
avoidance.
I would never want to be around that particular person. And so those times in my mind were so dark.
Yeah,
You get what I'm saying? And for each perpetrator, I associated them with just pure evil.
yeah, yeah.
Just
And that is, yeah, that is definitely a symptom of PTSD, where number one, some persons don't like to go back. They can't go back. They cannot relive. And that is the very definition of trauma, where something happened. This is not just an unpleasant situation, because unpleasant things happen to us all the time, every day. So this
yeah,
is a situation where it is unbearable, it's horrendous. You cannot you don't want to remember it. You can't go back there. You
you don't
don't
want
want to relive
that.
it. But the thing is, the problem is with trauma, the body gets stuck in the trauma zone, and you keep reliving that event every day until you are rescued and healed. So
I
trauma is really, it disrupts.
It does. It does. And it thwarps your thinking, even
Yes.
as your child is growing. Even if you're an adult, it thwarps your thinking. For example, I remember at a particular location, there was this gentleman who had violated me on numerous occasions. And
Yeah.
I remember I was probably just 13 years old, and I had on a dress, and he said something that was so inappropriate. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought something was wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I even had nights where I went to bed crying. I was like, God, why did you make me like this? Because it's causing this unwanted attention.
Yeah.
And so I ensured that I wore pants all the time. Even today, like I never wear shorts. And I realized that it's coming from then. I
Mm-hmm.
hated shorts. I hated shorts. I had to wear just pants because that one comment made me
Yeah.
so comfortable that I decided I was not wearing any more dresses.
Mm-hmm.
14 years old.
Yes.
So, another symptom that not many people talk about is the fact that when you are exposed to sexual, um, um, how can I say it? When you are almost perverted sexually early, it then forces you to have more sexual feelings as you grow up. And so
Yeah.
what you find is that when young ladies and young men are in situations where they're violated early, more than likely they enter into sexual relationships very
Early.
early. And that
Mm-hmm.
is because there's this quote that says, a mind once stretched can never go back to its original state. And that's pretty much what happens. So
Yeah.
sometimes you see some young people, you say, oh, they're loose, they're this, they're that. You don't know what happened to them when they were growing up.
Yes.
Thoroughly taken out of their vulnerable state. And so
Mm-hmm.
to have an eye on them. So that's definitely one symptom that I had seen. But I was, what kept me from going that wrong route was that I had my mother. And
Yeah.
I was so terrified of my mother. I said, you know what? I would never, like, I'm not doing anything, because if she ever found out, she would kill me.
Yeah.
Literally. And so I maintained purity for a very long time, till I was out of high school. Big
Mm-hmm.
just because I was afraid of my mother. So it wasn't
Yeah.
until she that I went that path. And I think I was 18 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
They're a little more mentally prepared anyway than
Yeah.
most younger, girls would find themselves in. So
Yeah.
molestation can ruin a young lady's life, ruin
Mm-hmm.
to the point that even in 30, 40, 50, they do not think that they are valuable.
And even in marriages.
Even in marriages, I
Yeah,
was
but we're
speaking
saving that for another time.
I was speaking to a young lady the other day, and she said she looked at her husband and said to him, "Don't touch me like that." And he said,
Mm-hmm.
"I'm your husband." She's like, "Yes, but I told you I have an issue that happened when I was much younger. When you touch
Yep.
me, it reminds me of the experience." And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the men don't necessarily understand that, but
Yeah.
there is whole thing going up here because of those molestation experiences that Athenian may have went through, that
Right.
them to not want a particular touch because it's
Mm-hmm.
associated with that violation that took place.
Yes, and for those of you who are listening, remember, if you don't understand the nature of trauma, really, that's okay. That's why we are here. Trauma is not stored really up here as just a memory. It goes way beyond that. Trauma is trapped in the body. So it is a reliving body experience. It's an
Mm-hmm.
embodiment of the experience. So if you felt like your head was being hit against the wall or a stone, if you have flashbacks, if you have memories of the trauma, you feel the hit in your body or on your body just the same way. And I'm going to give back Nas the floor, but I remember when my husband and I were held up at gunpoint, and the big silver gun was in my head, and what, two by two guys, one on his head, my husband's head, one on my head, and the guy grabbed my hair and was pushing me to the floor, to the ground, because we were in the road, dark road, you call them the on a main road, back road, say they call them shortcut or something like that, shortcut or lane or something. So on the road, I was on the road, my husband was on the road too, face down. One man had him, one man had me, and because I was, kind of resisting, he held my hair, pushed me to the road. I remember Nas when after that, every time I see a group of boys, or if it's even one young man, me just not like see teenagers,
Mm-hmm.
teenage boys. And I remember I saw two boys coming towards me. This was before I dealt with the trauma. And my body I started, the anxiety was coming up, because every incident after that, your traumatic incident, reminds you of it. So
Yes.
I'm seeing two guys coming up the road now. To me, they're not normal guys just walking up the road. To me, they are the robbers again. So
Right.
in that moment, Nas, I'm telling you, and Facebook, the entire shoulder started hurting again.
Then yes, yes.
The same way as how it was hurting that night, the entire head, back and ear, me all feel the sensation in my ear. Everything started hurting. And that's what trauma does. It's more than a memory. And this
Yeah.
is not just word of mouth. This is a scientific fact. It is proven, and it is done, seen on brain scans, where once the person remembers, and this is people who are suffering from the traumatic experience, once it is coming back, the body relives the moment.
Of course. Of course. And it's so interesting that we were so designed, once we get triggered, it's almost as if you're reliving oh my gosh,
Everything.
single thing. Every single thing comes back to you. There are moments when I am completely fine and a scent will bring me back to that dark place.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I will I will say I don't want that lotion. I don't want that perfume. I don't
Yeah.
want it near me. I could be standing in the bank and somebody says something and I'm taken back to that dark place. It's a different person, different voice, but I'm hearing the same words. And then
Yes.
I find myself turning around looking in the back because I'm like,
Who that? Yes. Yes.
and having to take a moment. So these
Yeah.
are real things that happen. And it's not until you confront them, you admit that you are experiencing this, that then you can look to the road to recovery. Now,
Yes.
that has to, what we spoke about was the
The
molestation.
molestation. Right. Mm-hmm.
Just to wrap up, that's something that happened numerous occasions, different people. So you can
Yeah.
imagine time I experienced that, what that felt like. Now, moving on to death. I
Yeah.
think tragedy, the tragedy of what happened to my father, my mother, and my grandmother,
Yes.
um, they far outweigh any other experience that has caused trauma in my life. Now,
Mm-hmm.
when my father died when I was pretty young. I was like 10, and
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people he was my everything. My
Mm-hmm.
father was my everything. He brought me chocolates and cards,
Yes.
Valentine's Day, and I'm young, right? And if I was,
Mm-hmm.
he would buy me something. It could be like a normal day, and he would come in his police outfit, and he'd take me to get pizza, and we would be on the road. He was just an amazing man, my hero. When my dad died, I suffered depression in a way that I did not understand at that age.
Yes.
My mother, I think my mother knew, but you have adults who don't understand how to process or to
Yes.
help the child through the pain, and they're
Yes.
going through their own pain. So I think a lot of times she ended up
Yes.
snapping at me. She never had to,
Mm-hmm.
because every single thing made me cry anyway. I was such a crybaby. I cried about everything. And so she never had to worry about beating me or anything like that because I was so emotional anyway. And that was because of the pain with my father.
Yes.
It, I mean, that death brought everything for me. Everything went downhill for me emotionally. Now,
Mm-hmm.
remember, I've been molested from early, so I never spoke to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
About it. I want you to think with me. My father was a police officer. What would have happened if I had opened up to my father and told him what these individuals were doing to me?
Right.
I was so young, I knew what the consequences would have been. So I didn't
Mm-hmm.
speak. Imagine what I felt like to know that that one person that I thought could protect me was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so, oh my gosh, I'm not doing this right now. Um,
That's fine. That's fine.
And so it, again, those years, I don't remember anything because they were so dark for me.
Yeah.
They were
Which is
so,
understandable.
um, in high school, it's big too because I pretty much stayed by myself. I had a small group of friends. We're all nerds. Um, we did much it. But I suffered. I suffered emotionally. When I say I suffer, because my mother was not the type to really sit down and talk.
Mm-hmm.
Good thing and it's a bad thing because she wasn't in a family situation where she was spoken to either.
Right.
Have known how to speak to me.
Mm-hmm.
Her situation was probably worse than mine. At least my father was dead. Her father was always away drinking. He never took care.
Yes.
And her mother had to struggle so much so that her mother, which is my grandmother, had to give her to her sister to take care of her. And then she complained that that sister abused her. So she
Yes.
had that love to give me.
Yeah.
And I say that it's good and it's bad because I know now to talk to my Ami and say to her, Ami, what's going on? Why are you upset with me? And we can
Yeah.
have a conversation and we'll butt heads. And then she come back and say, oh, mommy, I'm sorry. I said,
Yeah.
I'm sorry too, baby, because mommy shouldn't have shouted at, and we hug it out, that kind of thing.
Yes. So that trauma has brought on maturity.
There you go. But I
Mhm.
ne- but I never had that growing up. And so while I was facing the depression, going through the stress of molestation, and all the other different puberty issues and school issues, I didn't know how to talk about it. So you know what I did? I just shut down.
Shut down. Hmm.
I just shut right down. I lived in my mind.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. And I'm glad you went there because that is also one of the symptoms of PTSD and trauma. There's no or language is not really enough to put in narration the experience. So, scientists say that our language fails in that area where it's not enough to word or make a story in linear pattern what's happening.
Yeah.
And most times, the memories come back in fragments anyway. So how do you voice that and capture the emotions and the feelings at that time? It's really hard, almost next to impossible. So
Yeah.
what some people do, or most people do, they shut down.
Yeah.
And as you said that you lived in your mind, you dissociated. So you basically separated yourself from reality.
Oh yeah.
And that's also a symptom.
Many times, and it got to the point where there were days when they'll say to me like, why don't you speak?
Yeah.
I had nothing to say. I would just look. you
Yeah.
know and
That's
that
it.
pretty much me. And it didn't matter what I was going through, nobody would know.
Yes.
Nobody would know. Because at the age of probably 15, 16, I had learned the art of mastering my emotions or hiding my emotions. I knew how to mask them. And so
Yes.
it's bad, yeah. But the trauma caused me to get to that point. Now
Yes.
by the time, oh, what there is one thing I've never mentioned while sharing my story. Before my father had died, I had a great grandmother who I was very close to, and she had
Yeah.
died probably like 2 years before my dad had died, or a year before. And that woman was just so loving. She was matriarch of the family. She was in her 80s, but
Yes.
I remember her. I can even see her face in my mind's eye. She just embodied grace and love, and she was just something else. And I remember when she died, I had went with my grandaunt to dress her, and that was like an experience that I've never seen. I wasn't even fearful to have seen her in that state. Anyways, moving on now. By the time my mother had died, Lord have mercy, I was a train wreck, Shanice. Shanice,
I can imagine.
I was a train wreck when my mother died. I remember the actual night that we got the phone call, and I just ran to her room and I started digging up. I don't know what I was looking for. I think I was looking for money to buy a phone card to call somebody. And I was digging up through the bag, and while I was digging up through the bag to look for money, I said, God, are you wicked, someone? It's like nothing else could come from it. I said, God, you're
Yeah.
evil. Like, how could you allow this? You know that I'm now trying to, patch things up with my mother. We're just finally understanding each other and
Each
talking.
other.
How- Why? I couldn't
Yeah.
get it. And I think, and I don't think, I know because she died so suddenly, and I know because she was serving him like so faithfully. Even till this day, I still struggle with my mother's death. That one hit so hard. My grandmother, no, when my grandmother died, we knew she had cancer. We knew she was sick. I think that was probably one that I had to just accept that she was not well, and
Yes.
just deal with. But I think of all the deaths I've experienced, my mother's rocked me to the core. Like
Yeah.
rocked me to the core that by the time after she died and then my grandmother had died, I had to find tangible things now to help fix you. So it was no longer just sitting and living in your mind, because all I could think was the memories and stuff that, you know, just helped me to be further broken. So now I had to get like tangible stuff. I had to go out, I had to go dress up, I had to go shop, I had to go do so many different things, because I could not cope. I know I could no longer cope, Shaniese. And I think at that point my world had just completely crumbled.
Right.
If it meant that I was going to stay in a relationship that I was being hurt, I would stay. In my mind, I had nobody else.
So it was kind of that trauma bond where they say you would really itch onto anybody just to feel belonged and needed and seen and validated, and almost like occupying and taking the space of the events. So kind of patching the holes to kind of cope. And yes, we know it's not healing and facing and deciding and recovering. It's really just a dampening.
You're not thinking about that, because
you're not thinking about that.
If it is that you are thirsty, this bottle of water, you know, business with, you don't care what brand it is, you're thirsty.
Oh, no.
You don't need water.
Drink.
And unfortunately, what you do is, as you mentioned, trauma bond, what you do is you attach yourself to any and everything that you think will help you heal, except it only makes it worse.
Even if it's bad for you, you find yourself still sticking to it.
Exactly. So what happened now, the tragedy that I faced, it started to create symptoms that I did not even realize it until much later. For one, I was to myself, I didn't want to get married. I was saying to myself, I don't want to have children.
I can relate to that. Both of those statements.
I'm going to take it further. When I was now married, got saved and everything, pregnant, and went to I kept saying the whole pregnancy before finding out the sex. I said, God, I don't
want a girl.
I'm asking you, I do not want when I went to the doctor and I found out I was having a girl, I was devastated.
Yes.
I was devastated. And I mean, the normal person would look at me and be like, what's wrong with you, child? I'm like, I don't want my to come and live this life.
Nas, I felt the same way.
And I cried I probably cried to a co-worker. She was saying, because she couldn't understand me, one, because she didn't have children. So she's like, anything I get, I take.
Yes.
But I associated pain with being a female.
Yes.
And I was saying,
perceptions got changed.
I was saying, God, my parents couldn't protect me.
So and you can protect her.
Yes. And I kept saying, I didn't want to fail. I was terrified.
Yes.
And God had to take me through a process, literally, to understand that you're covered. You know, you do the best you can, and I will do my part.
Yes.
It plays out in so many different facets. So because of the tragedy, I didn't want to get married. I didn't want to have children. I didn't want to do certain things, because I was saying the moment I get into those kind of bonds, when the person leaves, I'm going to be devastated all over again, and I don't experience that kind of thing. And so that fear started to compound in such a serious way. But I think having to go through those three different phases, my grandmother was sick, my mother, she just died suddenly, my father was shot and killed, those things, such a terrible mind game on me. I couldn't see through it. And so my days in university were very dark. I don't remember most of them. Because I pretty much lived my life wanting to just escape everything. That's pretty much how I lived until giving my life back to Christ.
Awesome. Thank you, Nas, for that in-depth recollection of what happened. And two things I wanted to point out was that Another symptom of traumatic experiences, PTSD, post-traumatic stress, is that you basically live your life waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Oh
There
my
is
God.
nothing good, and that's why the bodies get so stressed, because
Hmm.
that fight and flight mode, that the body's alarm system is just activated, and people just can't see the future. They're
Exactly.
really stuck in the past and they cannot see any good that can come out of this. And so, because of that, they're always on the edge. Some people shut down, yes, but it's like fighting that unseen enemy.
Can
The
I
body doesn't know it's safe anymore.
mention something, Shaniese? Because I know I'm not the only one. When I was going through very low days, I find
Mhm.
going to bed and saying, God, you know, it probably would have been easier if you just had taken me instead of my mother. Like,
Yeah.
why didn't you do that? Why do I have to be suffering?
Yeah.
Why didn't you put that plan in motion? Because I cannot. I did not see the hope of surviving,
Yeah.
going through all of those different things. Now
Hmm.
remember, I was never the talkative type. I never spoke about how I felt. So there was no outlet.
Right.
There was
Hmm.
absolutely no outlet for me. And so
Hmm.
at nights and days when I said to myself, God, just kill me.
Hmm.
Unfortunate, but it's true because people experience things that they think is just too much for them to handle.
Which is the definition of the word trauma. It's unbearable. It's unbearable for the body to handle. And this is what really leads to addictive behaviors. And
Mhm.
this is what leads to self-hurt,
Yes.
self-mutilation. And yes, we understand that to have suicidal thoughts, and as especially faith-based people, we try to demonize certain experiences as much as we can, because I understand that sometimes we don't understand. And
No.
so, apart from the fact that, yes, there are cases where suicidal tendencies are spiritually related, we're talking about events that happen that change the brain, that
Yes.
change physical structure and operation of the brain. And this situation is lodged in the nervous system. So your body is living on senses and emotion. Your
Mm.
logical part of you do not operate anymore. And I can give you one example. I did a body scan after that 1 year I was telling you was the most traumatic years of my life. I did the body scan, and the doctor said, "You married?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "You and your husband all right?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Do you show emotion?" I said, "Yes." But I know in my heart that I struggle in being affectionate and all those things because of living a life of trauma. And he said, the part of your brain that should be sparking or showing that electric activity is
Shut down.
totally off.
Shut down.
There is no stimulation, there's no activity going on in that segment. And that is why you find people snap so much. That they're very snappy, they're irritable. If it is that you don't shut down, you're either hypersensitive, you're hypervigilant, you just don't know how to stay sensible. And
Wow.
people will think that you're rude, or
Yeah.
you have no home training, or she's just always so upset and angry and miserable and cross. But what you don't understand is that that's one of the symptoms of a traumatized brain.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
brain on trauma.
Wow.
So we really have to be kinder to each other. And the more
Mhm.
we know, the better it is for us. Nas,
Indeed.
thank you so much for sharing that story. I don't want to go into because we know that there are going to be other opportunities, other platforms, and we're going to get into this thing week by week. We're going to go a little bit further. Tell us 2 or 3 things that really set you on the path to recovery.
Okay. So I don't know if I had gotten it like that, like by the snap of a finger. It took me years. But
And that's
yeah,
fine.
but one thing that really did help to pull these things together You see, by the time I had gotten saved,
Mm-hmm.
Jamar and I got married. You know, he took me back to church. All these different things started to happen to me. All the years
Yes.
prior to me and Jamar meeting up and getting married, I never spoke about my story.
Yeah.
I never shared anything. I would not talk about it. So people would see me and, you know, they'd say, oh, you know, such a nice person, yada, yada, yada. I
Yeah.
never opened my mouth. And I remember, you know, one day, I think he sat me down and he said, Nas, I know you've been through a lot, but you went through all of that for a reason. And you need to let people know, tell people, because there are people out there who are suffering that can be healed through your story. So it wasn't
Right.
of me just finding that out, you know, just having an epiphany. I never had,
Right. On a magic wand.
never wanted to speak about those things. You know, Jamar,
Mm-hmm.
the extrovert, I'm the introvert. Remember, guys, I live in my head, right? Um, and when he said it, you know, I struggled with it.
Yes.
Struggled because I said, God, I'm not over these things. I don't think I passed how I felt about all of it. It still hurt so bad.
Yeah.
But then I really, the next few years, I think God just began to open my heart more and more to understand that He really has allowed me to, um, understand that yes, I've gone through all those things, but He sustained me. He kept
Yes.
me and
Mm-hmm.
shielded
Oh,
me from so many different things, you know, because I could have gone so many different ways. Now, remember, I was on my own. I had no
yes.
parents to say, okay, you can't do this, you can't go that. I was on my,
Right.
but yet still, some things just never happened to me. I never got pregnant early. I never
Yeah.
did certain things. I never did drugs. I wouldn't smoke. There were just some things that was just so far from my mind. I think God shielded me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took time for me to realize that for every broken area, He was going to bless me even more for it. But it took
Yes.
practical work. And I want to talk about the practical work, Shanice, because
Yes. Yes.
lots of us who are kingdom citizens, I can use the
Mm-hmm.
Christians or kingdom citizens, whatever you want to call it, we think that God is just going to touch us and every emotional hurt is going to disappear. Now, what
Yes.
we know, our God is capable of doing that. He's
Yes.
very much capable. We also know that it takes time.
Yes.
We also know that there is work that we have to do. Shani,
Yes.
the days that I had to get up, I did not want to look myself in the mirror. I did not want to see my own face because I didn't think I was beautiful. I didn't think I was worthy. I didn't think
Mm-hmm.
useful. And I had to forcefully get up in the morning and stand there and said, I am blessed. I didn't feel like it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel like it. I said, I am God's chosen. I am his child. I am his daughter. And
Yes.
he's in me. And he's
Yeah.
gonna work through me. I never felt like it. I didn't want to be saying those things to myself because I wasn't kind to myself to begin with. But I had to
Right.
do those practical things. I remember there was a point in time, and I know some persons are gonna be upset when they hear this. There was a point in my life I had disconnected from my relatives for about 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they were going through their own thing and saying, boy, she doesn't keep in touch with you. I was trying to protect my mind.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I was trying
Very
to protect
important.
my mind because when they would call, they would bring back these memories that would take me to a dark place. And so there
Yes.
were weeks on end that I would watch the phone ring, Shanice.
Yeah.
He said, I am recovering right now. When I feel better, I will answer that call. As a
Yeah.
matter, when I feel better, I will initiate the call. But
The
for right,
call. Right. Right. Mm-hmm.
right now, I want to recover. I want to feel better. There was
Yes.
a time I never went back to Almonton. I didn't go back there. I waited. I
Yeah.
waited. I said I didn't want to be where I would be reminded of so many different things. I
Yeah.
needed her. And so I disconnected for a while to come back refreshed. You get what I'm saying? So
Yep. Mhm.
first things first, I had to take the initiative to speak well to myself. I had to encourage
Mhm.
myself. The second thing, I had to disconnect from the people, from the places, all those things that dragged me back into a hole. I'm serious. Even people that were around a particular time that I was most sad, I would just say, you know what, I don't want to be in
Associate. Mhm.
right now. Right? I would
Yeah.
do. The third thing, I was so careful of what I had taken into my being. So I don't listen to certain things. There were some music that brought me back to a dark place. So
Mhm.
if I hear them right now, I tell you turn off the radio right now. And it took
Yeah.
years for me to come to a place where I could say, okay, I'm okay with it. Case in point, 3 days yesterday, I was driving and Boys to Men song came on, Mama. And
Yeah.
I sang it and I was there because I felt a little bad. Before Shaniese, if that song,
Yes.
I would tear my hair out of my head. I would be having a complete meltdown. And so
Yes.
I had to stay away from those things for a bit because I realized that I was still in a very vulnerable place and
Yeah.
I needed more time. And I fill myself with positivity. I
Yes.
I know sometimes people feel as though, it's just like a front. It's no front for me. It's my
Yeah.
life. It is my life. There was a point in time that I had to just delete all the music from my phone. It was just audiobooks. And some people would say, oh, why are you listening to audiobooks? Because they're coming from the Bible anyway. They get those principles. It doesn't matter. For some people, they're not ready to take on that kind of food. So they start somewhere
Right.
a bit simpler, right? And so
Mhm.
and in all essence, those self-help books literally help to push me into um, giving my life back to Christ. Because by the
Mhm.
time I started listening and understanding the truth I was hearing, I was like, but this all takes me back to Christ. Right? So I also had to be careful of what I was listening to.
Yeah.
Um, and I'd say the fifth thing is I understood that my life is not my own. I don't live for
Yeah.
myself. Even till this day, people look at me and say, "Oh, Nas, I'm so proud of you. Everybody knows you. You're popular. You're a so-called influencer." I don't let
Yeah.
that get in my head. I don't live for myself.
Right. Mhm.
My sole purpose is to ensure that those who come after me are encouraged, equipped, and prepared to
For
do
the
even
next.
better
Yes.
that I am doing right now. And so
Yeah.
I don't allow, some fickle things to overshadow what's going on in my life. I know what my purpose is. And
Yeah.
going to dark place is what made me understand that I am here to help those. You talk about people who have suffered from traumatic experiences. When you have people who have been suffering all their life,
Yeah. Complex.
all their life. And it's not
Mhm.
that the suffering keeps happening to them, it's they allow themselves to suffer.
Yeah.
And that is the point that people need to get to. When they wake up in the morning and say, God, I'm tired of feeling this way every single day.
Yeah.
I wake up now knowing that I choose whether or not I want to be happy today. I
Yeah.
choose.
And it
I
hurts to even try.
Exactly. I choose. You will have people call me and are so disrespectful, and they'll see me later and I smile at them and say, "Hey, how are you?" And them say, "Boy, and I say they easy on me." I choose. I don't allow you to choose. I choose. I
Yes.
know was that I am going to live my life. Now, there's one thing I want to mention before I go, Shanice.
Yes.
because of the trauma that I had experienced. Remember, I started out telling you the story that I grew up living in my head. I
Yeah.
really do. This touches someone. I grew up living in my head. So it meant that regardless of what I was doing right now, I was always thinking about a possible future event. So I was never present.
Right.
If I was going through a rough,
Dissociating.
if I was going through a rough time, I'd say, boy, I can't wait till I have money, a future event. If it was that I was experiencing trouble at work, I'd say, oh, I can't wait until I find another job, a future event.
Oh.
If I had like issues, anything at all, I'd always be thinking of a better place, a better thing happening. I no longer do that. I no longer do that because I realize that it is a plan of the enemy to
never be present.
To never be present, to never fully understand that what is going on right now is all that currently matters.
All that counts, right.
Trauma that you have experienced will allow you to always be looking forward to a thing that will never come.
Or stuck in the past.
Stuck in the past. Your family is a gift. When you're around your family, be present. If you have a ministry, it's a gift too. When you're at ministry, do ministry work.
Yeah.
We don't have that much time anyway to waste.
Yeah.
Be present, because when you are not present, God can use you as effectively as He would want to. And I literally realized that I had many days and years that were wasted because I was always imagining that my life would be better. And so I'm really thinking that this touches someone today because, yes, you have been broken in areas, but the truth is you don't have to stay in that broken place. I'm going to use this example. They say the highest form of grapes is when it's in its state of wine. But let us think for a little bit. How do grapes get to wine?
Yeah.
Grapes have to be crushed first, then allowed to ferment, which means you have to wait for a period of time.
Yes.
And we'll see what you turn out to be. So Shaniese went through a really hard life growing up. She was molested, crushed, and then she was allowed to ferment. So she went through her teenage years being bitter and broken and hurt and all of that. What happens after the fermentation phase is Shaniese can either become vinegar or she can become wine. Now, if Shaniese continues in her bitter state, hurt state, broken state, she treats people so bad, she's not able to accept love and she's not able to give love, then she becomes vinegar.
Yeah.
Now, it's so cheap. Not many people even know that grapes make vinegar, right?
Right? Yes.
So awful, but it is cheap. But if Shaniese, while she was growing up, understood that, yes, this bad thing has happened to me, but I'm not going to stay in this state. Life will get better. I'm going to treat people good because at some point in time, it's going to come back to me. And I'm going to be blessed. And my life won't always look like my current circumstance. Shaniese becomes wine. Wine. So valuable. And so the moral of the story is you cannot stay in your crushed state.
Yeah.
You cannot stay in your crushed state. I'm going to give you one more example, guys. One more. Because I really do sense you have some people on here who are searching and you just don't know how you're going to find it. Gold. Let's look at gold. They said it takes probably about 10 truckloads of the dust form of gold to make one brick of gold. And it may be more, but I don't recall my study right now. So if it takes all of 10 truckload of dust to make that one brick of gold, do you know how long it takes to actually mine for the gold? Gold
Yeah.
in its purest state, gold in its purest state cannot be picked up by the naked eye because it looks like dirt.
Yes.
It looks like dirt, guys. It is for you to allow yourself to go through that process to be refined. How is gold refined? Fire. We can't go there. I'm just saying, but you have to decide that you are not going to stay in that pure state. You are going to allow yourself to be processed for the greater good of nations, of the
Yes.
world. Some of us have some story. It's so big that Jamaica alone can't contain it. Everybody needs to hear some of it because people are gonna be blessed by it.
Yes.
And one more,
Yes.
cool. Charcoal under its highest pressure becomes diamond.
Yeah.
Charcoal doesn't even have physical features looking anything like a beautiful glowing diamond, but it is a diamond before being pressured. Guys, I'm saying, yes, you went through your hard stuff, but
Yeah.
there is so much in mind from the hard stuff.
Yes.
It's the hard stuff, guys, that is there to literally take us to that next level, take us to our destiny ultimately.
Yeah.
That's why it's there. The toughest soldiers go through the hardest battles. And so, yes, guys, you're experiencing trauma, but that trauma can become something beautiful. I was so blessed by sharing this. I can't even express it. You wouldn't understand it. I do it all the time, but every time it's almost as if the more I speak about it, the more grace I'm given to do more. And so I thank you guys so much for having me. It was just an absolute pleasure tonight.
Thank you so much, Nas. Thank you so much, Natasha, Mrs. Mindfood, um, Faith Walker, HR consultant, leadership consultant, business consultant, Natasha Wright. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I know that this is more than just a story for you. It is more than just a story. It is a part of your why. And so we thank you for coming and sharing with us today. We thank God for your deliverance over the years. Yes, we know it's not going to be a magic wand, as you said. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a quick fix. But we thank you for sharing how over the years you have managed to come to terms with what has happened, faced it. And I like what you said. You've made the decision. You came to terms with it. Talk therapy helped you, but you also had to do some things.
Yeah.
You have to do some things to get on the path to recovery. And so I want to thank you. Nas, tell us how people can find you. How can they find you if they need to get in touch with you?
Okay, sure, most definitely. So I'm on all the major platforms, social media platforms. I am on Facebook and Instagram. If you need to find me on Instagram, it's at Natasha Wright, just like it's spelled right there. Let me make sure it's spelled right. Yes,
Yes.
spelled correctly. So you'll find me at Natasha Wright. Or Facebook, the very same thing. I am on LinkedIn, same Natasha Wright. And I wanted to just share quickly that I have launched from last year November, almost 1 year now. You believe that? A mentorship program, and it's really designed for individuals who really feel as though there are a few things holding them back from accomplishing their goals, whether it's business, whether
Yes.
it's personal, it doesn't matter what it is. But some of us, we face things such as simple as procrastination. Why do we procrastinate? Why are we afraid to speak up? Those simple things, they are hindrances to move
Yeah.
to the dimension that we really ought to operate in. And that program has been going well. I have quite a number of individuals that I mentor, but I try not to do any advertisement. You guys already know I do a gazillion things, and so
Yes.
try to allow those who are truly interested to reach out to me. But given this platform that Shaniese had shared with me, I realized that there may be individuals who are interested. So if that is you, you can reach out to me and I will ensure that I respond to you, give you the details. And I'm looking forward to working with individuals who are still looking to do big things before 2020 is up.
Yes, awesome, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So, guys, if you need to work on your confidence, self-sabotage, limiting beliefs, and self-loathing, we will be, I will be advising you to reach out to Natasha. Go over to her page, try to find out more information about what she offers, because she will really do a wonderful job in terms of helping you to grow, to accelerate that self growth. And so, again, Nat, we thank you for coming. For those of you who are, I just wanted to point this out quickly. If you have any questions, you may
Yeah,
ask. Okay.
yeah.
So if you have any questions, you may post your questions in the comment section. We have about 5 to 10 minutes for that. But before you start writing or while you're writing, please understand that trauma shortens your lifespan.
Mm.
Why this is so is because physically, biologically, your immune system goes off, it shuts off. So you are open now to more illnesses, and that is why the urgency is behind the fact that if you are suffering from PTSD, if you are suffering from a traumatic experience that you just can't seem to get out of your head, out of your mind, out of your body, then that is for the self development and the confidence. We're going to now ask you to join the private Facebook group, and Natasha can attest to that. That if you are suffering from PTSD, complex PTSD, then go right over, and the link is normally posted on my page, where you go over to the private Facebook group for traumatized individuals. Again, that group was specifically created for persons who are suffering and struggling. And we would love to have you come join our family, right, Nas?
Yes, indeed, indeed,
Yes, so
guys.
remember, go over to Natasha's page if you are struggling with those roadblocks of self growth and acceleration and self actualization, personal development. Natasha Wright is the woman to talk to. And if you are traumatized in any way, if you're going through a past experience that is resulting in you experiencing post traumatic stress, then you can definitely reach out to me. All right. Any final words, Nas? If you have any questions, please go ahead. We are ready and waiting for your questions. And we thank you for sticking it out with us. Nas, do you have anything that you want to say finally before the questions come?
I want to say is that, Shaniese, and you would know it too, our culture does not necessarily embrace finding help for these things.
Yeah.
Our culture, we love very much. Our culture is very influential. However, when it comes to matters of the heart, I think we are all told, whether females or males, that we need to be strong.
Yeah.
Everyone will tell you, oh, you have to get over it. Oh, you know, it happened in the past. The past is the past. But the truth is, many people
Not
need
like
help. You need help. And one sure way to get help is through mentorship.
oh
Some
yes.
people counseling, some people just need somebody to hold their hands and walk them through. Somebody just needs an ear. But
Yeah.
find that in our Jamaican culture, we somehow think that mental issues are like a taboo. When the truth is, medical
Stigmatized.
issues, they start from some very small experiences, and then
Mm,
they move into greater, dangerous ones. And
yeah.
so say that your mental health is just as vital as your physical one. I remember when I was in a very dark place, I got sick almost every week. I'd be missing from work.
Yes.
I got out of that situation. I had sick days. I, I didn't take any. I was fine. I was fine. And so I'm saying to you that your mental health is really important, guys. Find somebody to talk to. Just
Yes.
sure that you don't keep everything to yourself. All right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And somebody said in the comment, thank you for that, Nas. Somebody said in the comment that, or one of the comments that you hear is, you need to get over that now. That is
Hey,
so true, but then that is so unrealistic, because whoever that person is, Talk Truth series, let me tell you something. that person or those people who say that don't understand what trauma is. They don't understand, because if something changes the structure of your brain, how do you choose to get over it if you're not helped? Is that a professional help, medical help, or divine intervention? And most times it's a combination of the three.
Of everything, because we are the human mind and being is so complex. It's like one thing alone can't fix it. You need a plethora of everything to help you. I was talking to Jamar the other day, and he said, like he was saying, somebody made a comment to say that so and so and so. I said, but babe, that shouldn't bother you. That person has never been in this situation before.
Yes.
They can tell you how to feel or what to do. So you knowledge that.
Right. And that is why I also want to remind everybody that when it comes on to resolving or healing and recovering from trauma, talking alone normally does not do it. You can either re-traumatize the person by just talking about it. Sometimes, and this is what they do for veterans a lot, they call it exposure theory, or therapy, where they bring them back to the scene of the war. And that also re-traumatizes a lot of people. So when it comes down to trauma, you feel like you've lost your body. And so your body and your mind and every part of you must be catered to. So it's not just talking about it, but it's you have to gain control now. The body needs to know that, okay, it's now safe. The past is in the past, and you are safe in the future. So again, it's not going to be just talk. You have to do something for the body to regulate and know that, okay, I am safe. And the past was the past, and this is the future. Yes. So there are a few questions, or there are a few comments. I see Talk Truth series. I remember when I lost my mom at age 15, and my best friend at the time told me that I needed to get over it now. I don't know how you can call that person best friend. I hope that title is not anymore. But that's a very harsh best friend. And maybe because the person doesn't understand. But even if you don't understand, that's your mother and you're 15. You need to get over that. No is not the answer for that. Nas, you can speak on that because you have experience where your mom died when you were young.
When my father died, there was a young lady in Almonton I was very close to. When my father died and I walked through the gate and they told me that my father was shot and killed, that young lady bawled. I mean, like, I was shocked. I stood there looking. She cried. Shaniese, she cried the whole night. And then everyone was looking at me like, is your father dead? You know, not her. She behaving like, but I appreciated that because she felt what I felt and she cried for me. And even till this day, I appreciate her so much because she would have experienced the shock and trauma I felt. But when it comes to pain, and I want you guys to listen very carefully, when it comes to pain, and I'm not trivializing anything, whether it is a heartbreak, because people love to tell you when you're going through heartbreak, sure, get over the man, get over the woman. You would have known what you had invested in that. You would have the time, the money, the effort, the energy. And so I do not believe that anybody should be looking at you and say, sure, forget about that. No, it's your feelings. You are feeling it. And so what you need to do too is to be very careful who you share what with.
True.
Be very careful who you share what with. I have people today who will call me and say, Nas, I'm going through X problem, and I will stop everything I'm doing and sit and listen.
Yeah.
Because I know what it felt like.
Yes. And at the root of every trauma or most traumatic experiences, most times people don't heal because the environment is not conducive to it. There is no, and this is also proven, this is a scientific fact, where at the heart of most unsolved and unresolved traumatic experiences, the mother really wasn't there, or if mommy is not there, then the family members and the support from friends and the support from those who you love, loved ones, it's not there. And that's why a lot of people go through so much suffering, because that community is not there. It's broken down.
Or you find that you're around people and everybody wants to talk about it and it stresses you out.
It's re-traumatizing you.
When my mother died, I had people coming to me telling me, "Oh gosh, your mother dead, you don't have no father, you don't have no mother, what you gonna do?" And I would be so stressed out because I'm thinking to myself that you're not helping me.
Yes. Yeah. That
and they want to have a conversation to say, do you think it was, they say stupid stuff like, did you think it was our husband stressing your husband stressing you out, or it was the church, or it was, and I had one time, I had this big argument with my aunt because she was telling me that, oh, if my mother was saved, she wouldn't have died. Guys, you have to know like what to listen
to, what not to say.
Don't know what to say. They have their own questions, they have their own feelings. I told that young lady the other day, her mother died. I told her that she has a younger brother, same situation I was in, and her mother just passed away, just got up the morning, was exercising, and just died, right?
Yeah.
Now, she said that she wanted me to talk to her younger brother because he was definitely feeling really down. And I said to her, are you guys having a lot of visitors during this time? She said yes. I said, can you please ensure that your younger brother is not in the room when all of this is taking place?
Right.
I said, please do not have him sit down in the midst of all of that conversation.
Right.
Asking, then how she dead, then so and so, then you get a second opinion, then you go make sure do another autopsy. That is a child. Too much.
Yeah. And how the family member reacts to the situation. It either fosters that quicker process into recovering as well. Because if you are in this era where you see everybody just kind of talking about it, like it's already destructive. Yes, it just re-traumatizes you, and we really have to be careful how we say certain things. And sometimes the best thing is to just not say anything, just be silent and hold space. As coaches and counselors and therapists, we learn this, that sometimes the best thing to do for your client or your mentee is to hold space. Just don't say anything, just sit there and hold space for the person and allow them to vent and to express. I see a question. How do you deal with this situation when your loved one is suffering from mental illness and he doesn't admit that he needs help? With mental illness, one of the things I know that you can't do is to tell somebody to snap out of it or do better, or you don't see that you need help or admit that you need help. The mind that is broken does not know really. They can't logic. Remember that mental illness goes beyond logical thinking. You're not sober. You're not aware. Your perception of the world is different. If you're living in a different world from, especially if the person reaches the state of psychosis, that's the state we call madness. So it depends on the level. If that person is operating like he or she is in the state of psychosis, then you really can't ask that they admit they need help, because logical reasoning and the rational brain is turned off. So that is going to be hard for that person to see, because they just won't see it. And you're going to look like a threat to them.
And you see, again, let's take it back to our own culture. Our own culture dictate that I will look at Shaniese and say, Shaniese, you say, yeah, get mad.
Yeah.
Then even if Shaniese is having some mental issues, what will Shaniese do?
I will help myself.
From the enemy, right? and then cause her to be aggressive and not want to be around me, because that's definitely not how you handle it. So you have to be very
Yeah.
careful.
That's true. That is so true, Nas. Another question is from Talk Truth series. How about going through a rough breakup in high school and the guidance counselor summons you to their office to ask you 100 questions without any form of consolation? I learned something that day and I will say it any and everywhere I go. The counselors need to build a relationship with the students before they try to solve the issues at hand. Yeah, that is true. With any relationship, anybody that, even in sales, Nas, if you're trying to get good sales, start from heart to heart, because that's really how you're going to get sales. So it stretches into and it goes over into counseling and mentoring and providing psychological help. That if you want to help break, and not necessarily break, but win a heart or win a person, the basis of feeling safe is really love.
Yes.
So if you can't show me that you understand and you see me and you validate what I'm going through, even with trauma and PTSD, if your patients don't feel safe with you, we normally advise run from that person. Don't you ever go start counseling with anybody that you don't feel safe with and you don't perceive that level of care and passion in the person, because it's not going to work out. You're going to be re-traumatized. So you're correct.
I could go straight business on you guys and tell you
Right.
that people don't do business with people who they don't trust, period.
Right.
Right? So you will never find somebody investing money in you or purchasing products from you who they
Yeah.
don't want to associate with. So that is a great point. But I have another
Right.
side to that.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, while I know that everything is different right now and the culture is
Yeah.
different, I don't even encourage like teenagers to go into any serious relationships. And I will
That
stand by.
too.
I say that you are not developed to deal with a mature or a sexually related intimate relationship at that point in time. I do not believe that the mind even can deal with what devastation comes with a breakup when you're 15, 16 years old. Now, while I know that reality is completely different and we have youngsters who actually have relationships, full-blown relationships with older people, I still stand by the fact that they're not fully equipped to deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome point, Nas. Awesome point. And this is not to try and bash on your love. It's not anything like that because,
I'm just
yeah,
saying.
you have feelings. But in the event where,
The guidance counselor was probably trying to protect the school too, or protect
Mhm,
what happening, because how could the guidance counselor know that you have just gone through a breakup and is then berating you or interrogating you? So I look at it from a completely different perspective.
yeah, okay, fair enough. But in the case, if the guidance counselor knows of the breakup, then yes, we do expect that you offer consolation of the situation, because that's different from tolerating. So it's not that you're tolerating, but you are offering some sort of sympathy or even empathy, because we all can relate to be having a broken heart at some point to this person, whether you know. But thank you for sharing that, Nas. Is there any other question before we wrap up? Such a moving testimony shared by Nas. Very, very inspiring and appropriate for such a time as this. All right. So there seem to be no other question. Once again, Nas, we thank you. Natasha Wright, we thank you. We spoke on the topic of they left me for dead, but I survived and thrived instead. And all glory be to God for that. Guys, stay tuned. We have so much more for you. And there's so much more we could say about trauma and how it disrupts our life. Mind, body, brain, spirit, profession, emotional, behavioral. It's not just one part of you, and even spiritual. Because I have Christian based, you say, clients where we sometimes we hide behind the fact that this doesn't happen in the church. It does. My
God.
friends and my neighbors and my brethren and my family members, let me say that it does. And we need not to hide from this elephant in the room. Let's address it. Because mental health is one of the biggest public issues, public health issue right now. And not on Facebook. Let me tell you, it's not necessarily poverty or crime and violence. It's mental health. One of the biggest public health issues right now. One, because people don't really, and even our medical field, they don't really take the time out. So most people get passed off on medication.
Yes.
So the root of matters don't get stirred up anymore. But most of the population now is subjected to meds. And so we have to, appreciate forums like this. Yes, Nas, go ahead.
Two sides. So you have the people who are passed off on medication, and then you have the other people who are high off the Holy Spirit. So they use the Spirit to cover up every single thing, even things. So you are so spiritually minded that you are no earthly good here. Because you hear from God, even when it does not, go so. I think it's a form of mental issue too, because you hide behind this so-called facade and you think that because you are, you're a Christian and you profess Christ, then it covers everything else, and we still ought to operate in so we are still to work our purpose. So how does that work? So it's many facets. I love the series. Just thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And one last thing, we keep saying one last thing. We're going to run. We're going. One last thing. I will be doing another segment on how do you know, because I know that as again, faith-based, most of our culture is Christianity-based. So I know the challenges that presents itself, but we don't know what spiritual transfers mean and when a person is affected by demonic oppression regarding the mind. So look out for that. We will be doing a segment on how to determine and to differentiate between a genuine case and when it's demon possession. There are ways to know. And apart from, and I tell you, listen, anybody that is going in the field of mental health and suicide prevention, ensure that you have a very good prayer life and a very good fasting life. Because spirits do transfer, yes. And there are spiritual attacks on oppression. And so we will be doing a segment on how to know if the case is genuine versus spiritual attacks. But let us wrap up. We're finally going to wrap up. Thank you again, Nats, for coming and sharing. And we're moving into trauma recovery week by week until we feel led to pause and to do other things or to cater to other business. Again, if you are suffering from PTSD, if you are suffering from trauma, please go over to our private Facebook group. You'll see the link on my page. Just click on that. You'll see the request to answer the questions, and we will accept you and be happy to share the community with you. If you are challenged in the area of self-esteem and confidence and personal development, reach out to Natasha. She will have the right strategies for you. Again, thank you guys for sharing. Thank you for sticking it out, and have a wonderful rest of Saturday evening. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye, everybody.